Hi everyone, this is Sagar Shah and I have managed to get very good lighting finally to do my video. I The match got over some time ago. I'm still at the playing venue as you can see here. This is where Vishy Anand was commentating. There's a huge giant chess set. Behind me is the entrance of this playing hall. So I found this space and I would like to bring to you everything that happened in the game today very quickly. Let's go over the game because I think it was a brilliant game played by both sides, worthy of a world championship game. So Magnus opened the game with 1 d4. I had a feeling that Magnus would play d4, and he did play it. Knight f6, c4, e6. Now Nepo likes to play the Grunfeld as well a lot, but in a world championship match, you try to be a little more solid. You don't want to be surprised in the opening. The sharper the opening, the more chances of you getting surprised. So e6, knight f3, d5, queen's gambit declined, and here I had the statistics that 146 times Magnus has faced this position, and out of which he has gone g3 in only 14 games. So I was expecting him to go knight c3 here, but he surprised everyone with his move here g3. Although I don't think Nepo would be surprised, because in such world championship matches you never take a main opening like Catalan lightly. So Nepo went bishop e7, bishop g2, castles. And now there are two ways to play. You can play move like knight bd7 or c6, which is known as the closed Catalan, or you can take on c4 and play the open Catalan. Once he took on c4, Magnus played queen c2, which is the main line. And here, the main move in this position is a6. The main point is that if you take here, I want to play b5 and solve the problem of my c8 bishop by playing bishop b7. If you stop with a4, then another way to play here is to play bd7 and then bring the bishop here. This is essentially the crux of the matter in the Catalan, that you want to activate your bishop on c8. So hypermodern theory now is developing. Why should we go a6 and b5? Why can't we do it in one move itself? And so b5. Now the bishop on g2, if it uh, had life to it, its eyes would pop out. It was like, wow, this diagonal has opened up. There should be something happening. The main move in this position is a4. And a4 is a very tricky move, because think about it, how should black meet it? He can't play a6 because after ab, the rook is hanging. He can't even play c6, which is actually the most natural move, because after take, I want you to pause this video and figure out what is the best move for white here. So if you said knight e5, that is the wrong answer, because after knight d5, black is doing completely fine. The way in which black defends any knight jump by white, this knight jumping anywhere, is by putting his knight on d5 so that his rook does not fall. So the right move here is knight g5, and the point is now the knight cannot go to d5 because queen h7 is a checkmate. I hope you spotted it. If you did, congratulations. So c6 does not work, a6 does not work, so black has to play b4. And here there is theory. One of the main moves here is knight fd2, trying to sacrifice the d4 pawn and win the c4 pawn. The other move here, queen takes c4, is not a good idea, because after bishop a6, queen back, knight bd7, black is getting c5 and a very good position. So all in all, this is how a4 would pan out, and I was expecting Magnus to go this, but after around 4 minutes of thought, 3 minutes 40 seconds, Magnus played the move knight e5, and this is where everyone started to get really excited, because in this position, which has been played 831 times, Magnus has found a move which has been played only 18 times. And the only good player who has played this is Adli Ahmed against Matlakov. And he played this move in October, just very recently. but it looked really dangerous. Firstly, this is hanging, but you can defend it with c6 as well as knight d5. I think knight d5 was a possibility, but here Nepo already started to go into deep thinking. I don't know if it was his preparation or not. I tried to get a sense of whether it was Nepo's prep or whether he was surprised by asking him this question at the press conference, and he said it was an unusual idea by Magnus which took him by surprise. So maybe he was already out of book. He played the move c6. And now, of course, what he's hoping is Magnus will take, bishop takes, and move the rook. And black is better here, clearly better. So you don't do that. And now Magnus played the move a4, which is a nice move. And his threat is clear. He wants to take on b5, cb, and win the rook. Knight came to d5, blocking the bishop, which is the correct move. But this was the only move in the position. Nepo still took 11 minutes to play it, which just showed that he was being very safe and sure about what he's doing, and that's what the pressure of world championship can do to you. Okay, knight to c3, and now another very cool move, f6. Now, a move like f6 does create weaknesses in the position, as you can see the red marks, but at the same time, it pushes the knight back. So the knight went back to f3, and here Nepo went queen d7, which looked a little bit artificial. B4 should have been tried, and I think this has been played in some correspondence games before. Knight e4, and then bishop a6, and I think this is where black is doing very well in the opening. Although I'm sure Magnus had his preparation here. In fact, we have transposed in a game of Boris Gelfand against Alexei Shirov through some means, which is played in this position, and actually it had continued with the move bishop h3 with f5. uh, that has happened before. Queen d7 was played by Nepo, and he said, well, if I don't have to weaken my structure with b4, why should I? My queen now defends b5, and I have things sorted out. My bishop is going to b7, knight is coming to a6. Magnus attacked the knight in the center with e4. The knight had to move to b4, and now you play queen e2. Now, all of a sudden, for one pawn, you start to realize that white is doing very well, because look at his pieces. The only thing that black can boast of is this knight on d3, which is very nice, but it's the only piece. E5, very cool move, trying to open up the position when ahead in development, open up the position. And here bishop to b7 was played. Actually, f5 was also playable here. It's a very interesting move, but I think what he did not like is that after ab5, if you were to play cb here, things can get really nasty with the move d5 in the air, like ed. You can play many possibilities with the bishop activating here, like you can play knight d4, you can also go knight e1 to exchange of this strong knight on d3. So there were all these possibilities. So Nepo said, let's be safe, let's play bishop b7, so that on the long diagonal I do not have anything to worry about. E takes f6 was played, bishop f6, and now knight jumped to e4. At this point I was like, wow, Magnus's position looks really good, because you see, he played knight a6, and here, even if Magnus would have been a little bit calm and had played, like, say, bishop e3, I think white is the one who has good chances here. He's pressing, he has all these ideas of knight e5 in the air. But also another possibility was to take and bishop h6. I think this was another way to play. You really don't want to take with the rook, because that weakens the e5 square tremendously, and my knight can jump there. So you take with the pawn, and then yeah, there are some possibilities. You can go bishop h6, you can first take on b5. So this could have been the best way to continue. In fact, a line that I have is rook f7, knight e1, trying to exchange of the strong knight, knight a b4, takes, and b3. Very intense position. But Magnus went knight e5, and this was a great idea only that it had a tactical error, or you can say he just missed a move. And this is what Magnus did not like about his game today, that he missed this. And he had great points, by the way, because if you take, then knight g5, and the queen is activated here, e6 is weak, knight is looking there, the bishop is looking on the strong diagonal. um but what he missed was that black can take, and now black need not take this pawn, which would once again fall to knight g5, which is a very powerful move, but can play knight a c5. And here in your head you are like, knight a c5 doesn't make any sense because my knight is jumping into d6. But what Magnus had missed is knight to b3, knight c5, knight b3. I mean, basically he had missed this entire plan, and now Nepo is not only attacking the rook but also the bishop here. So it was important for Magnus now to just calm himself down and to play the move bishop e3. He actually saw this move, but after knight a1, rook a1, he did not like the fact that this knight still is alive on b1, on d3. That's the reason why he played rook b1. And Nepo took, and we reach this position. If you count the pawns, white has 6 pawns, black has 7 pawns plus an extra exchange. So materially black is doing phenomenally well. It's like he's 3 points up, but this knight is a monster. This bishop is not so well placed, so Nepo has to slowly and steadily figure out what to do about his bishop. So first he went rook a b8. I like this move a lot because his plan is to go back bishop to a8, rook d1. And here Anish Giri asked a question to Nepo in the press conference through someone who was here present, that had Nepo considered b takes a4. And Nepo said, but I felt that bishop a8 was just very natural, so bishop a8, the idea is to take on a4, threaten c5. Bishop e4 was played by Carlsen. This was a very, very, how do I say, a very interesting move, because on one hand, Magnus could have taken on b5 here, and the queen is attacked. But I think in some ways, this is exactly what Nepo wanted. For a cost of 1 pawn, he can now go c5, he can exchange off the pieces. Uh, and this is what he may have wanted. In fact, here black could have started with queen e7 as well, but okay, bishop a8, bishop e4, and now came the move c3 by Nepo. And as he said, this was a very human like reaction in the position, c3 move, because on one hand he is getting worried about the attacking prospects for white with queen h5, on the other hand he knows he's better. So let's say in such a position, if you had the kind of the gut to play g6, you could get a great position. But it's never easy to play a move like g6, because you are creating weaknesses, you are worried about like things like h4 h5 in the position. And so he said, let's do something concrete on the queen side, so that if my opponent takes b takes c3, I will play this, then my rook opens up. Basically you are creating counterplay. So Carlsen went queen c2, attacking here, and then Nepo played g6. Now Magnus could have taken with the queen, but then b takes a4 was possible, so Carlsen took with the pawn. And here Nepo once again played b takes a4. The main reason why b takes a4 is on Nepo's mind is because he doesn't want to go c5. He wants to play c5, but then he loses the pawn on b5 in every line, like ab5. So that's the reason why he first takes on a4. That is important. Now, after the game, Nepo was told that here he had another opportunity to press and black to move. What should black do here? Not ba4, but queen g7. And if Nepo would have found this, it would have been very nice, because after f4 you go g5, and you are creating some dangerous counterplay as black. B takes a4 was played. Now queen takes a4, still stopping c5, because the queen would be hanging. So Nepo went rook fd8. At this point, actually, I was in the tournament hall. I was watching the action live, and I was like, yeah, Nepo is threatening c5. What is Magnus going to do? He's an exchange down. And that's where Magnus showed his class. He first played rook a1, then to c5. He again found a great move, which was queen to c4. And then when Nepo took, he took back. Now the threat is knight f6 check. Also the c5 pawn is hanging, a7 is weak, and white has enough counterplay to hold equality, which is really, really very nice, because you just sink in your knight on d6. It's a monster. Yeah, you don't really get into lines like knight takes c5, because after, let's say, queen d5, you're losing your coordination and black is getting active. So knight d6, rook b6, queen takes c5, very powerful knight there, rook b8, king g2. And I think here Magnus started to realize that it's he who is trying to press here. Black does not have much to play for, but somewhere he could have pressed a little bit better. Maybe he could have waited with a move like rook a2, but time was getting low and he played queen g4. And this is where Nepo was like, whew, let's just get rid of this knight. Takes, queen takes, and here we have 4 pawns each. The game is ending in a draw. The players made a few moves, c5. Take here, Nepo even sacrificed a pawn. He said in the press conference he was very nearly going to blunder with queen takes f2. Why is this a blunder, guys? Can you find out? White to move. Pause the video and figure out. Yes, the right move is queen e5 check, LPDO, loose pieces drop off, and this rook is hanging. So rook f8 by Nepo, f4, and now a check. And we get into this rook endgame, which is actually drawn. And Nepo did it quite easily. Check here, rook goes here, check, and the players agreed to a draw. That's how the game ended, in a draw. I hope you enjoyed this analysis. I loved the match. In fact, I was analyzing throughout. I was also talking to the people here. I was listening to Anand's commentary. I was going inside, watching the entire match in this room. It was amazing, and this is what world championships are all about. You can sit at home, you can start your engines, and you can be like, this is just another game, or you can just soak in the entire feel of this environment, which I'm loving. Also, I think both Carlsen and Nepomniachtchi are showing some good fighting chess, which is making it a very exciting event to follow. For now, I'll pack my things, I'll get back home. It's already 11:18. I need to catch the metro to my place. But until then, guys, I'll see you tomorrow for the third game before the rest day. Rest day is after the third game. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.